Greetings everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host Captain Rye, and today's YouTube video is a subscriber submitted replay courtesy of Sonic 157. And Sonic is playing that very special, very controversial Tier 10 Japanese destroyer, the Shimakaze. Why is it special? Why is it controversial? Well, the Shimakaze has gone through a lot of changes since its first release in the game, way back in the alpha test. Of course, most of these changes have effectively been nerfing it since the beginning, and hence why it's controversial, because every time they come out with a new patch that's supposed to fix the destroyers, it ends up ruining this particular boat even more than others. As the battle gets underway, it's Tears of the Desert, and Sonic has got himself a major problem as he's detected right off the bat by the enemy aircraft carrier, who is not going to let him sit in his smokescreen and hide. He gets motoring on, but he takes 2 torpedoes right off the bat. He's being spotted. He's being detected by planes. He's got a major problem on his hands because he's got a destroyer that's shooting at him. The aircraft carrier has just tried to drop bombs on him. He's not got a lot of health left either due to this fact. Takes even more hits from the ships that are shooting at him. These aircraft are not letting him get away. Of course, fortunately, he finally drops off detectability, but not before taking a substantial amount of damage. Those first 2 torpedoes nearly managed to kill him, and at this point, he doesn't have any HP left. He's all the way down to nothing. Now, of course, if you have the Adrenaline Rush perk on your captain, this is a good thing, because that means every single one of these items down there is going to reload super fast. That's your speed boost consumable. Cooldowns are going to just go nice and quick. Reload time on your main guns and your torpedoes extra fast. Sonic's got himself into a bad situation. His team has managed to capture the B cap point. Enemy team is in the process of capping the A cap point, and his team is somewhere trying to cap the C cap point. But because of the amount of damage that he's taken, he really cannot afford to be seen. And as long as that aircraft carrier is continuing to send aircraft over, this is a serious problem for him, because those aircraft are going to continue to spot him, and while they're spotting him, he's visible to take shots, and he gets hit yet again, leaving him on even lower health. Oh my god, it gets set on fire. He doesn't have any HP left, and now he really doesn't have any HP left. Even nudging that cruiser could have been fatal if he'd gotten any closer. So he's going to go ahead and he's going to sit in the back. He's going to stay back behind his team here for just a little bit, and he's got to play it very carefully. Now, the Shimakaze does have a low detection range at 5.9 kilometers with the correct captain skills and the correct modules. But that doesn't mean anything if the enemy that you're coming up against also has a detection range of 5.9 kilometers. Other Tier 10 destroyers, like the Gearing, have that low detection range. And at this point, pretty much anybody who runs into him is going to be able to kill him. So he has to be extra careful so long as there are so many enemy destroyers left in this game. Decides he's going to head away from the A cap point because that's a hot zone of nothing but trouble for him. And since the enemy aircraft carrier seems particularly interested in sending his aircraft over that way, probably not the best thing, as again, any detection will probably be the end of him. Now, the Shimakaze has gone through a lot of changes, several of which include her torpedoes. The changes to the torpedoes have effectively changed the speed and damage done by the long-range torpedoes, and given you more options to try and encourage up-close torpedoing with the fast, high-damage, short-range ones. Unfortunately, those torpedoes absolutely suck, and so you're either left with taking 12-kilometer torpedoes or taking 20-kilometer torpedoes with torpedo acceleration, a skill which I don't particularly like, because I feel that you might as well just settle for the shorter-range torpedo and use that skill perk in something that's more important, like survivability expert. Now, the battle for his team is not going well. The enemy team has managed to kill 2 of their destroyers, and they've lost 2 in return, surprisingly enough. But there for a little bit, Sonic's team was down on ships, and the enemy team had that destroyer advantage. Now, they don't have the destroyer advantage in numbers, but because Sonic is so low health, again, being detected by pretty much anything will mean the absolute end of him. Enemy team is in the process of capping C, and there's nothing really up over there on Sonic's team that can deal with the C cap point. His team loses yet another destroyer, again giving the enemy team that destroyer advantage. Sonic is pushing up through the channel here, back towards the enemy spawn, and with any luck he'll be able to circle back around and possibly find the carrier that's caused him such grief right at the beginning of the battle. But he just have to be careful that he doesn't come around one of these islands and immediately get spotted. For the most part, the enemy team is located down at the A cap point, which is good for him because that means there are fewer guns to shoot at him. Does manage to hit a torpedo from extreme range. That's one of his few torpedo hits so far, and that's as he comes around the side of this island when he spots an AFK Mogami. This guy not even loaded into the battle yet. At this point, this is a very good situation for him because it means free damage. But he has to be careful because taking that Mogami out is going to signal to the ships that are back here, including the carrier who's now spotted anyway and should be aware of this, that there is an enemy destroyer back over here. I don't know if this is a replay bug or if this was on purpose, but Sonic launches one set of torpedoes right on the lead indicator where that AFK Mogami is currently sitting, and he launches one forward, and that's a little weird because if that Mogami does suddenly pop back in to this game and starts getting going, both sets are going to miss completely. I would have popped one set right on the lead indicator and then a second set just forward of it, nudging it to stagger it so I guarantee I'm going to hit him with as many as possible. Either that or he's going to die anyway when he gets going. He manages to kill that cruiser. Again, AFK, but free damage is free damage. Takes the ship out of the game, and that's going to help keep his team in this game as they really are down on points due to the enemy team having 2 caps for as long as they have. There is one friendly ship on his team that is over in the C cap point and is contesting it, but that ship does have to deal with an enemy destroyer that's back over there. The carrier has been spotted. He knows he's been spotted, and he's trying to make a run for the border and behind the islands up here. That's a smart move to try and get behind the islands because you definitely don't want to be in a carrier being spotted out in the open where enemy battleships have free reign on you. Now, Sonic is going to continue putting torpedoes into his direction, but he's trying to stagger them a little bit because this carrier is going to maneuver, and I mean, honestly, what carrier isn't going to maneuver in this kind of situation? You're being spotted, and you don't know what's spotting you. With your detection range, you know it's a destroyer, and you've got to be careful. The first set of torpedoes missed the carrier completely, which is unfortunate for Sonic. His team manages to kill yet another ship, but the enemy is now capping the B cap point, which means they're going to have all 3 of these caps soon enough. Aircraft carrier sending his dive bombers this direction as they get launched up, because that's the direction that those torpedoes came from. And he's using his dive bombers twofold. 1, to spot the torpedoes that are coming in, and 2, to try and see if he can spot the destroyer that was detecting him. Of course, now that he's no longer detected, he might think that the destroyer's ducked back away or has gotten too far out of his detection range, but that's not the case. He's just behind an island. Enemy team manages to capture the B cap point, and now Sonic's team has no caps. So the enemy team is absolutely gaining more points, and this is going to put them in the points lead even more so. Sonic manages to hit that carrier with a couple of torpedoes, but not enough to sink him outright, and it looks like the carrier used his damage control to immediately stop the flooding, but he's got very low HP. And this is a bad thing for that carrier, because of course carriers don't have a repair heal ability. Sonic takes a risk here and he opens up with his guns to try and finish off this carrier. If he can set him on fire, he'll burn. Does manage to kill him with his guns, and now there's nothing in range that can detect him except those aircraft. So he pops his smoke screen, slows way down here. The enemy CV has got his planes up over here. And this is a very bad situation because they are detecting him. And so long as those planes are detecting him in the area, that means that battleship over there could decide to take a shot at him. And really, that battleship only needs to land one hit. That's it, just one. Now, Sonic's no longer got the full detection range on the gun bloom. He pops his speed boost as he leaves his smoke screen, realizing that those aircraft are going to sit there and loiter because that CV... well, he's dead. He can't control him anymore. So if he can get away from the planes, he can no longer be detected. Enemy team loses another destroyer, and now they're just down to one battleship and one destroyer. Again, though, Sonic has got to remain undetected, because if he doesn't remain undetected, he's going to get shot at. And if he gets shot at, he's going to die. Finally, drops off detectability, gets far enough away from those aircraft, but his team still down on points. However, they manage to kill the last enemy destroyer. This now means that Sonic is the only destroyer in the game with the lowest detection range. More importantly, he's outside of detection range from the aircraft that are circling behind him, and the last ship on the enemy team is a battleship. So there's no way that battleship is going to be able, provided proper spotting, is going to be able to get close enough to Pep to spot him before Pep can see that battleship and take evasive action. Now, Sonic gets himself into the B cap point and he starts capping it, because at this point, why not? You really do need that sweet, sweet capping XP. Enemy team manages to finish off one of their remaining ships, and that just leaves Sonic and the carrier left. And that carrier really has done a pretty good job in this battle, taking care of the enemy ships. Now, the last known detection of that enemy battleship was back down by the A cap point, so the carrier's sending his planes over there. It is a slow boat, well, a slower boat, so it's not like it's going to be able to maneuver, disappear off to some corner of the map, and hide. Really, at this point, all that battleship needs to do is survive just a few more minutes, and his team will win on points. And if not winning on points outright, hitting that 1,000 mark before the end of the battle, all he has to do is survive long enough to run the clock down. Although, if he can be able to spot that very low health destroyer, which I'm sure his team is telling him that this destroyer is incredibly low health, then he can win by killing that destroyer. But Sonic, thanks to the CV, has got line of sight on this battleship. And this battleship has got to know he's being detected. And he's got to be aware that there was something at the B cap point that capped it, and that's probably the destroyer. So he should be well aware that there is a destroyer in the vicinity, and should be taking evasive maneuvers and actions to avoid the possibility of torpedoes. Sonic launches off a set 4 of the indicator on the indicator and aft of the indicator there in order to get the widest possible spread. Given that that battleship has got about half health, Sonic really only needs to hit him with about 3 of his torpedoes to secure a kill. But he wants to make sure that he hits that battleship at any point. Can he do it? He does manage to hit a couple. He's very low health. Yes, almost. Floods him to death. Finishes off the game with a victory. 154,000 damage done in that battle. Only 3 kills, only 1 devastating strike, and that's from the Mogami. A good number of torpedo hits there, a couple of base capture ribbons, or 1 base capture ribbon there, I should say. And that is not quite enough to put him top of the team for XP earn. No, in fact, he only comes in second on the team for XP earn, but still over 2,000 base XP. The number one player on the team ended up being at over 2,200 base XP. Very good battle. Surprisingly enough, you gotta be careful. If you get the opportunity to shoot at a damage destroyer, don't pass it up, obviously, for obvious reasons. A damage destroyer with all of its torpedo tubes is still an incredibly dangerous thing. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me and the channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. Any support level as low as $1 a month will grant you access to some of my World of Warships replays and screenshots early, some which make it to YouTube, and some which don't quite make the cut, but are still pretty good. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships, among other games, live on Sundays about 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.